Hello and welcome to One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer. I am your host in blue, Vincent, and next to me is my co-host in red, JJ. Why is JJ wearing red? I don't know, because it's an ugly color for a baseball team. But anyway, uh, do want to remind you to please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, contact us through one card, one cup, one beer at gmail.com. You can subscribe to our page by clicking on the icon at the bottom right corner. Please support us through Patreon. Go to patreon.com, just search One Cardinal, One Cup, and One Beer, and you will find us, and you can support us with a very, 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 very tiny monthly. You can support us for $3 a month. I mean, you can support your enemy for $3 a month, and I'd probably your enemy if you're a Cardinal fan. So support us. We've got some plans to do some outreach to some of the card shops in the metro area, and that's going to cost us a little bit of money. So that's where that initial Patreon investment is going for materials for that. So JJ, did we have a winner for our contest?
Yes, for the 2004 Michael Walker bobblehead, we had Robbie Spear. And if that name sounds familiar, Robbie Spears. He is in Union, Missouri, and he won we've had 3 contests now, and he won the first and the third. So man, he's got a monopoly going on here. That's right. And the clues were a Cardinal hitter of prominence that most fans would know, played from 1970 to 2000 with the Cardinals sometime in there, played on all 3 World Series teams, or played on one of the World Series teams, was an outfielder, and he never talked to the media. You would never hear an interview with him, and it was George Hendrick. Silent George Hendrick. That's right. That was a great clue, Vince. Your last one put it over the top right there.
There was a time period, was it 79, the summer of 78 or 79, when they traded and got him? There was a time period when I was in middle school and I was going to a lot of games. And for some reason, every game I went to, it seemed like George Hendrick hit a home run. And I just, I guess he liked me. I don't know, but
we didn't hit many home runs back then. Busch Stadium's always been a big stadium, and we didn't have a lot of power hitters. And I think one time George led the Cardinals in home runs with 18 home runs. That was it. He played first base, some center field, and on that 82 World Championship team was a right fielder. Played with the A's in their heyday, the Indians. He played for the Angels. He had a long career with a lot of different teams.
yeah, the Cardinals traded him to the Pirates, and that's how they got. Is that how they got Tudor?
You know what? I don't know that one. That one I'll have to go look up. I do not know. I don't remember that one.
I do remember it was. Yeah, I think it was for Tudor. So
I
just remember him in a pirate uniform, looking like a giant wasp because he was a tall, lean guy. So
that's right.
Well, JJ, what's going on in Cardinal land?
Oh, Vince, we ended
before you start, I want to congratulate you.
Oh, well, I'll take any congratulations.
You guys have got out of last place today.
We've been teeter-tottering with the Reds. We'll get ahead. We don't want to look too, we don't want to draw too much attention to ourselves.
I do understand it is April. I'm being adjusted. So.
Yes, anyway. Well, we were 5-7. I tell you what, now we're coming home. This week we're coming home. We've got the Pirates for 4 and the Diamondbacks for 3. So according to the schedule, that looks pretty good. Well, and I want to go through some pluses and minuses. The Cardinals are hitting. It just seems like, you got your defense, you got your hitting, you got your starting pitching bullpen, and it seems like maybe 3 of the Pistons are working at one time, but we can't get everything going all at once. So we were 5-7, so we're hitting, but we're not scoring runs. Sometimes it takes the Cardinals 3 and 4 hits to score a run. We have a lot of times bases loaded, 2 outs, and then a ground out or a strikeout. That's been kind of rough. Our defense has been fantastic. I'm telling you what, Tommy Edman and Donovan at second have really picked up their defensive game. The infield I'd put him up there against the 82 Cardinals in Cardinal history that I remember. I mean, you got Nolan Arenado, but they had Ozzie. You got Hernandez with Goldschmidt. Hernandez was a better fielder, but Donovan and and Edmonds done a real good job. And Contreras has thrown out the most runners so far through Tuesday, tied with JT Realmuto for the most stolen guys trying to steal a base, throwing them out 5. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I've enjoyed our defense, and of course, Paul Goldschmidt doing Paul Goldschmidt stuff. Our bullpen has been solid, except we got one guy in there throwing a monkey wrench in there, and that's Jordan Hicks. Oh, the first 6 starts, Vince, it's just been brutal. It's been brutal. This is all going into this week, but we got Lars Newbar back this week, our little spark plug, and I think he's a big part of the team. The negative, the starting pitch has been terrible so far. I mentioned Jordan Hicks. Kisner is just not hitting at all. And Contreras can't play every single day. So sometimes Contreras has been DHing, he's been catching, or he'll come in late in the game when Kisner started. And then, so we're just not scoring any runs. So we start out the week. I'll get going here. I was kind of getting desperate. So I broke into my Mark McGuire Wheaties box because we're going to muscle up this week. All right. We're getting ready. We're bringing out the big guns. All right. This comes with a syringe, by the way. The cereal comes complete with a syringe. All right. Must be 18 or over. So none of you kids get this the cereal box. So we're starting out. We're going to play on Thursday against the Pirates, and the Pirates were flashing the glove. We lose 5-0. We can't even score off Vasquez. Jordan Walker's hitting streak ends, so he ended up tying with Eddie Murphy, Honest Eddie, with the 12-game hitting streak. Now, this is an odd stat, 20 and younger, start of your career, 12 consecutive game hitting streak. So that's pretty good. That was 1912 Philadelphia A's. So he's in the record books. That's nice, but we don't score a run. Jordan Walker's hitting streak comes to an end. And it's great to see Andrew McCutchen, just going off this a little bit. It's good to see him back in a Pirate uniform. Vince, I don't know how you
feel. Too.
Yeah, he's played really good, and he's been a good mentor for those young. I believe all the teams, you need a few veterans in there with the young guys to kind of show them the way. McCutchen looks like he belongs in that Pirate uniform. Although he always has been a pain in our butt. He's a great player, and as a fan of baseball, I just love watching him play. He hit a double in that game. It was his 295th, and he's 8th all-time in Pirate history in doubles. So that's pretty cool to be in a top 10 of a very prestigious organization as the Pirates. 37,000 fans at the thing. So the Cardinal fans do show up. If we keep playing like we're playing, we'll take a look and see if they're still showing up come August. But right now, we're still showing up. Montgomery had a quality start. He's 2-1. He went 6 1/3, 3 hits. I'm sorry, 3 runs, 6 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and he has a 2.45 ERA. Montgomery's not been a problem. He's been pitching very well. So anyway, the loser in that game was let's see, who was the loser in that game? Did I put it down? I guess it was Montgomery. Okay. So now, first game we lose. Friday night, we come out and we exact revenge on those Pirates. 3-0 Cardinals. Woodford pitched, and the story of the game, our pitching was we had a team shutout. Woodford pitched 5 1/3. Our bullpen, these bullpen guys have been outstanding. Zach Thomas, Verhagen, and Gallegos all combined for a shutout. Very, very good. And Woodford did not give up. Well, of course, it was a shutout, so he didn't give up any runs, but he only walked 1. And this kid was fantastic in spring training, but his first 2 starts of the year weren't very good. So this is promising that this kid had a really good outing. Let's see. Gallegos got the save. And I like that because in our bullpen now we maybe can pitch Helsley and get some of the saves. We haven't had many save opportunities, Vince, but Helsley might be a weapon on one day, rest him, and Gallegos could get the saves on another day and kind of have like a combination of 2 sets of bullpen going on there. Let's see. We ended our 14-inning no runs against the Pirates. For the last few times we played them, we went 14 innings without scoring against the Pirates. That's pretty bad. And Walker had a day off. and Alex Burleson threw out a runner. I'm telling you what, this kid, he was our top hitter in the minors, and he threw a one hopper to Contreras and got a runner coming home. And we're not losing. Yeah, we're not losing anything with him in the outfield. And that's the thing. Okay, so we're 1-1 against the Pirates now, but I tell you what, our defense has been so good. If we can just get the starting pitching and not have an inning, it seems like there's always one inning where the Cardinals kind of blow it. So anyway, we got 1-1 against the Pirates, and that was a little more promising of a game. And then Saturday, well, here we go again. We lose 6-3 to the Pirates in 10 innings. Game could have went either way. Both teams had chances to score and went to the inning. And of course, Andrew McCutcheon starts everything. But Matz went 5 2/3, 2 earned runs, 5 walks. That's kind of been his bugaboo, and 6 Ks. Let's see. The bullpen minus Hicks was fantastic. 4 innings, 4 hits, 1 run. But Hicks only went a third of an inning, Vince. 3 hits, 2 runs, and a K. And it was just this sort of setup where we were running out of pitchers. We put Hicks in, and he got shelled.
Go
ahead.
For someone who throws as hard as he has, he's never put it together.
No, he's had stretches. When he was a closer, there was a stretch there where he was a pretty good closer. But you're right, not for a lot consistency for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's confidence or what, but you kind of have this feeling that if you go out there and throw 103, 104 miles an hour, you should be dominant. Well, not everybody who throws that hard is dominant. I haven't looked at him enough because I'm a cord cutter. I don't get to watch any Cardinal games unless they're on a game of the week or something. So I haven't been able to study his fastball to see if it's just lacking movement, because there are those who throw the fastball and it's just straight as an arrow, and you can throw as hard as you want. They're going to square that up every time. You got to have some movement.
What I've seen, Vince, is it's too much movement. He can't control it. He doesn't know exactly where it's going, and it'll just float out of the strike zone. And they're not chasing. They're gonna take their chances that he can't throw 3 strikes over in an at bat. And then they set on it. And then he slows it down a little bit or throws a straight one, and they hit a rocket shot. But if he's throwing 102, somebody's going to take a chance on him. There'll be somebody out there. Somebody will take him. Probably the Oakland A's. What the heck? Might as well.
What are you going to get from them? I'll get to that later.
Maybe a possum.
There you go.
Oh, so what in this game? Like I said, Matz was walking people. It seems like we always were, every inning we were in trouble. And we lost, but there were some questionable pitches. And Jim Edmonds on the TV was saying the strike zone was moving around. It's that way for both teams. It seemed like we got a lot of bad calls, but that's baseball. Ups and downs. Marmol came out and has been very vocal. I think he's kind of feeling the heat. He got thrown out of the game. Now that's bad. Oh no, I think that's good. I think he got on the ump. He said his opinion. He got out of the game, but Joe McEwen, the bench coach, took over, and the Cardinals started running. We went 5 times. We attempted stolen bases, and we were successful 4. So Joe just turned them loose. Hey, I like that. Even though we lost, we were running the base pads, and the people who got the stolen bases, Goldie got 1, Newtbar got 1, and Donovan had 2. And then Lars Newbar was back that game, and we sent Yespis back to the minors. So we won 1, lost 2 against the Pirates, and Sunday afternoon we win 5-4 in 10 innings. And Vince, I'll tell you, we could have won all 4 games, and we also could have lost all 4. So I feel good about being 2-2 against the Pirates. You very seldom these days say that, but being 2-2, I'll take it for how we played and everything. And that one, Michaelis pitched. He went 5 2/3, gave up two earned runs. His ERA was in the 10s. Now it's down to 8.10 because he had a couple bad outings at the beginning. But our bullpen was just great. 4 2/3, no earned runs, and 2 strikeouts. All right, so our bullpen, except for Hicks, has been really, really good. It was Nolan Arenado's birthday, number 32. So I say your prime years are 27 to 32. So and I'll tell you what, Vince, and I watch every Cardinal game or watch the rebroadcast of it or see it on YouTube if I can, if I miss it. Uh, Watching this guy play third base, it's like watching Ozzy or Johnny Bench catch or somebody like that. It's just a privilege watching this guy play defense. I'd pay money just to watch this guy play defense. He's so much fun. Newt Lars is back. He hit a 2-run homer, and Alec Burleson got hit with a foul ball. He has a shin guard, and it went right above it. And they said he had a huge bruise on there, and he had to be taken out of the game. Let's see. We won in extra innings when the bases were loaded, 2 outs, and Tommy Edman hit a ball right up the middle. Very nice hitting by him. And there was a stat flashed up that the Cardinals have performed the most double plays in all of Major League Baseball. So that's good. I'm looking for stuff right now, Vince, to hang my hat on. Right now, it's kind of lean. The cupboard is lean, except for my Mark McGuire Wheaties box and my syringes. That's all that's up there right now. So we split with them, and into town comes the first place Arizona Diamondbacks. And Vince, I don't know about you, but I picked them to finish 4th.
Yeah, I didn't see this coming.
I didn't see this coming either. They're a very fast team. They just seem like they have the right mixture. Their coaches got them motivated, and they're coming out and attacking. And so they're in 1st place.
They're the only team in the West over 500 now.
Really? I didn't realize that.
Dodgers and the Padres and the Giants, they're under.
Well, so we got Arizona, and the 17th, they beat us 6-3, and Jack Flaherty, who was 1-2 coming into the game, took the loss. He went 6 innings, 4 earned runs, and his ERA is 2.95. He's got a little more control over his pitches. Contreras was only hitting 180, and this is the game where he's starting to turn it around. This last week, he's really turning it around. In this game here, he was 2 for 4. Over this week, he's brought his batting average up to 241, and he had 2 stolen bases. Did he steal bases for you guys when he was over there?
Yeah, he stole bases. He did in the last few years, but he played some left field for us, and he's got enough speed. He can cover left field, and he can steal some bases.
Well, he's starting to come. I always knew he could hit, but he's throwing out the runner, stealing, and now he's gotten hot. He's got his batting average up to 241, and he's 5 for 13 in his last 4 games with 2 doubles. And in that time period, he's hitting 384. So here comes Contreras, which we needed. And Alec Burleson got a 2nd home run, which is good. On DL News, Waino is making a rehab start, which is good, because I think we'll be better if Waino's in the rotation and Wolford's in the bullpen where he can be a long reliever. I think we'll be better. And we have our international signing, Wilkin Rodriguez, Hernan. Let's see, what is it? Wilkin Rodriguez will be making a rehab start in Memphis, and he was outstanding in spring training. So it looks like we get Waino back. We have 2 more in the bullpen. It'll be making us a little stronger there. I don't know who will be sent down. It might be Hicks. We'll see. So we lose it.
Does he have options? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know all the option games there. So Tuesday, man, it's getting lean, Vince. And we lose 8-7 to the Diamondbacks. And in the 4th inning, we're actually winning 2-1. We couldn't get them out. One time Montgomery threw a ball and fooled the batter, and it bounced in front of the plate, and he hit it on the bounce and got a shot in the outfield.
I saw that.
What are you going to do? And he'd get ahead of him 1-2 and throw an outside pitch, and they just reach out and tap it over the infield and land in there. It's baseball. Everybody could do that. If they could do it, we could do it. We didn't do it. We came back from a big deficit and made it a game. But sometimes games just aren't meant to be. It's just not in the cards for you. And that was one of those games right there. But it was just one bad inning killed us. And let's see. So that's kind of it there. And thank God today, Arizona's leaving, and we're going to go on the road. And maybe it's a good thing to get out of St. Louis. But we win 14-5. And Vince, sometimes you need a laugher. You need to just reset everything. We had a big game today. Jake Wolford got his first victory of the year. And again, in spring training, he was our best pitcher every outing anyway. He went 5 innings, 4 earned runs, 1 K, and 1 walk. Now, he's had better outings, but this one just so happens your offense scores 14 runs, so he got the win. Each team made 1 error, but Tommy Edman, 3 for 4, 3 runs, a home run, 5 RBIs. He's hit 274. Contreras, 2 for 3 with 2 runs, 1 RBI. He's now up to 274. So in a week, he took his bat. It's early in the season too, but he took his bat average from 180 to 274. Very good. Jordan Walker, 2 for 4. Seems like every day he's getting a hit or a walk or two. He's starting to walk more now too, which is something for the Cardinal fans to like. I like him down there in the 7th and 8th spot. I know a lot of Cardinal fans want him moved up into 3, 4, or 5, but I say leave him down there. Let him work it out. Less stress in those bad. I don't know what I think. There's less stress at the bottom of the lineup. I know every bat is the same. It means more, but down there he's like what double cleanup or something. And it seems like he's succeeding down there. So I wouldn't mess with it. I just leave him down there. Let's see. And I mentioned about Edman and Donovan's defense. They've been fantastic. And this week, Contreras went 8 for 16. Just hitting 500 this week. I know that can't keep up, but
hit a couple home runs yesterday's game.
Yeah, hit a couple home runs. He's stolen a couple of bases.
Yeah.
So hey, that's really cool. And the young guys, I tell you what, I know our record's not good, and I know we're in 4th and we're only a half game ahead of the Reds, but our young players are looking fantastic, especially Nolan Gorman, who hit a home run today, is his 5th. He's leading our team in home runs, and his defense is looking much better. He's not chasing like he did last year. He's only in his 2nd year, and he's looking really good. Alec Burleson, which is technically this is his rookie year. He's a little older rookie, but he looks like he's very good with the stick. Donovan and of course Walker. Now Carlson's been fine, and Motter and O'Neill have been fine. And O'Neill's really not a young player anymore. He's kind of in the middle range there. But things are going to get good. And Jordan Hicks for 2 days in a row has had a good outing. They brought him in the last 2 days. He's pitched 2 innings with a hit, a walk, and 5 strikeouts in 2 innings. Now they were low leverage situations. And one, we were losing big time. The other one, we're winning big time. So maybe that's what he's got to do. Just pitch in low leverage situations and get himself righted. So that's pretty good. And so anyway, we're 3 games under 500. We're 5.5 games out of first place. And we got a day off tomorrow, which is good. And then we go on the road to Seattle and San Francisco next week. And the Cardinals are 8-11 right now. But Vince, can I go over some team batting stats, because this is going to glorify your Cubbies right here. So I think you'll like that.
Go ahead.
In batting, leading the National League, the Cardinals are tied for 3rd with Atlanta. And I think Atlanta, they're on a roll right now. They're looking good. The Cubs are 2nd in team batting. That's fantastic. So we're 269. The Cubs are hitting a 285 clip. That's fantastic. And the top hitting team is the Phillies with a 286. So you're right behind the Phillies in hitting. Home runs. The Dodgers lead all the National League with 32, but we have 21 and you guys have 20. And stolen bases, everybody's talking about Arizona with 18. I read the Cubs have 22 stolen bases after Tuesday. I didn't realize the Cubs were running so much. Pitching, the Cardinals, we were 11th last week and we're 12th this week. So, yeah. But Atlanta is 3rd. I thought Atlanta would be higher than that. The Cubs are 2nd. So 2nd in hitting and 2nd in pitching. You got a 3.19 ERA as a team.
Yeah, and we're pitching good.
Pitching good. And Milwaukee, number 1 pitching with a 2.96. So under 3 as a team. That's fantastic. Milwaukee's tough. And fielding,
you're gonna notice Milwaukee's gonna start sliding down, because I just got from Haiti my Milwaukee Brewers voodoo collection dolls. So start sticking pins in them.
That's right.
Start sticking. No, I can't stick a syringe in them. They'll get better. So.
Oh, that's right. They'll get stronger. That's right. Yeah. So we got to keep them away from Mark cereal. And fielding is the last thing I was going to touch on, Vince. And I know I've been going on a while here. But the Cardinals are tied for second in fielding with San Diego Padres. The number one fielding team is the Mets. And the only, I say, shortcoming it looks like with the Cubs is their fielding. They're tied for 10th with the Reds. So, but I think they moved up a little. I think they were 12th last week. So they moved up a little bit in their fielding this week. So,
Well,
anyway,
with Suzuki back, we're going to start moving up because the right field was just a defensive hole. So that's going to just improve just because of that.
and that's it for me. And I'm sorry I went a bit long. I love all the little statistics and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, Max told me I should do this, so I'm going to do this on a weekly basis until Matt Mervis is called up. I'm going to compare Matt Mervis's AAA stats in Iowa with what I'm calling Hazzini, Hosmer, and Mancini. They both play first. I'm putting their stats together,
I like
comparing
this.
them to Mervis. And I'm not doing this just because I got an axe to grind with Mancini and Hosmer. The fact is this, Hosmer, even though he went deep today, he hits the ball on the ground way too much, way too much. And I knew that coming into the season. That was his MO, that he's a ground ball hitter. He doesn't have speed. So if his hits don't find holes, you're looking at a lot of easy throwouts, a lot of easy double plays. Mancini is just lost, especially against right-handers. He has no business. But let me compare Matt Mervis in AAA Iowa right now. He has 41 at bats. He has 3 home runs, 13 RBIs. Listen to this. He has 13 bases on balls, 9 strikeouts. So his walks
Wow.
are above his strikeouts. He's hitting 293. He has an OPS of 889. Anything above
Outstanding.
800 is really good. For a first baseman, you wanted, mid upper 800s, and he's there. It is AAA, but that's what he's got. This is
Outstanding.
what Hazzini has. And some of these at bats, have been at different positions. I didn't want to go through a nitpick, the times they played first base, but this is just these two gentlemen put together. Hazzini has 115 at bats, 2 home runs, 19 RBIs, which sounds like a lot, and it is. But as you said, the Cubs are second in the league in hitting. There's always traffic on the base. And I would venture to say we may be first in on base percentage because we have like Hap, we have Swanson, we have some people, Wisdom, who will take their walks. So we're probably really high on base percentage. So these RBIs are not necessarily the product of their great hitting. It's the product that there's just a lot of traffic on the base. So, you hit a ground out, a guy runs home, you get an RBI, you hit a sacrifice fly or something of that nature. But this is where it really starts to get bogged down. Together, Hazzini has 5 walks and 27 strikeouts.
Ouch.
Hazzini is hitting 200 and has an OPS of 541. You cannot have a major league team that has a first base position with an OPS of 541. That's atrocious. We are 1/10 of the way through the season now.
110. Ouch.
Yeah, it goes by fast, doesn't it?
Man, I didn't think about that.
Mancini's going to be on the team. I mean, we've signed him to a 2-year contract. He's there, and he's going to have to figure this out. And they have started taking him out of the lineup a lot more. He's going to have to figure this out. But we're not going to cut him. Hosmer, we are paying the league minimum, and his $22 million, all except for the league minimum, is being picked up by the Padres. So we can get rid of him. It doesn't matter. Or we have Luis Torrens, and we have Edwin Rio. And they barely play. I mean, they played today, but they barely play. Nothing against those two, but if you got two guys that barely play, you could perceivably keep Hosmer and Mancini and call up Mervis because these guys aren't playing anyway. And you could DH Mervis, you can have Hosmer play first, and you can let Mancini figure it out against left-handers, send Mervis against left-handers, and let Mancini DH against left-handers and figure out a stroke. Or you can just get rid of Hosmer, put Mervis on first base, DH Mancini, get Torrens and Rios more at bats. You can do something. But it does concern me. The one thing that really concerns me about this team is that first base position where we have a 541 OPS. Mervis is not a 20-year-old kid. He's 25. He has earned his time in the major leagues. We are past the date already. So service time will not be an issue. We would have him for this year and then 6 more years. Bring him up, please, because I don't like having a first base position, one of your thumper positions, being a 541 OPS, and Mancini just looks completely lost. And even though Hosmer went deep, there's just nothing there. There's a lot of ground balls, and unless they find holes, he's an out. So let me get on to a few transactions. On Friday, Mastroboni was optioned to Iowa, so we could bring up Suzuki to the roster. Great, we got a right fielder who could actually hit the ball and catch the ball. So also on Saturday, we optioned Velasquez to Iowa. Thank you for the Grand Slam last week ago, Monday, that brought us back, and we won that probably game of the year. We really appreciate it, but there's just no room, so we're going back down to Iowa, so you're getting some at bats. And we brought in our left-hander, brought up our left-hander, Brandon Hughes, to put him in the bullpen, so we were back at 13 pitchers. This week, we went 5-1 on the West Coast. Friday, we opened our series, 3-game series with the Dodgers with an 8-2 win. Happ goes 4 for 4. Gomes goes 3 for 4, and Gomes hits 2 home runs. Gomes has suddenly found an offensive stroke. Suzuki and Wisdom both homer. Steele pitches 7 innings, 2 earned runs to get the win. So starts off good. We're playing a good team. We're playing in Los Angeles, and we start with the win. Saturday is one of those games that just really irks me. We lost 2-1. We score our only run on a Wisdom home run. Tyone pitched 5 shutout innings, so his pitching actually matched his what he should have been pitching. He didn't have any bad luck or anything of that nature. We enter the 9th with a 1-0 lead, and we bring in Fulmer, and they get some traffic. There's 2 on and 2 outs, and first base is open, and you've got David Peralta up to bat, who's a left-hander. Fulmer's a right-hander. Ross told him, don't give him anything good to hit, which agitates me. Don't put it in the pitcher's hands because the pitcher can make a mistake. They make mistakes all the time.
All time.
The manager should make the decision, put him on, put the left-hander on, we'll pitch to the next guy. So Fulmer shook off Gomes and threw a pitch that maybe he shouldn't have pitched. It leaked over the plate. Peralta hits a soft liner. They score 2 runs. They win the game, walk-off fashion. But this is one of those things. I'm not saying that if you walk him, we automatically win the game, because you still have to execute. But when I talk about how Craig Counsell makes the right decisions and Ross doesn't always, this is a prime example. The right decision for the manager is to say, put him on first, pitch to the next guy. That's the difference between being a good strategist and being a team that didn't necessarily execute something. You put him, the right strategy is to put him on and then take your chances with the next hitter. And if they get a hit, okay, it's just poor execution. Something happened, but that's the right management strategy, is to take it out of the pitcher's hands. So I'm not saying that Ross has lost this game. I'm saying that we were 1 out away from winning this game. We would have had a much better shot, I think, if he tells him, walk the left-hander, we'll pitch to the right-hander. So, but anyway, And by the way, on deck was a right-hander, Austin Barnes, who was 0 for the season. And
Oh,
Will Smith is
no.
injured. So Ross said, well, I didn't know if Will Smith was going to be available at the pinch hit or not. Well,
Yes.
apparently in the Dodger booth, they've been saying, Will Smith is injured. He won't be playing this game, you know. So anyway, so we're 1-1. Okay. But on Sunday, I get happy again. Happy.
Heavy time.
We win 3-2. Swanson goes 3 for 5 with the double. Wisdom and Bellinger, they hit back-to-back home runs in the seventh off of Julio Urias, who you and I both picked to be the Cy Young Award winner this year. He pitched a great game, but Smiley matched him. This is Smiley's second straight great outing. He pitched 5 2/3 of an inning, only gave up 1 run. Mark Leiter Jr. came in and he struck out Freeman, I think with the bases loaded in the seventh. Freeman's a left-hander, Leiter's a right-hander. Leiter has the most nasty splitter for a left-hander. That's why left-handers cannot hit him, because they don't see it. And this is the second time in this series that Leiter has struck out Freeman, who's not
One of the best.
bad hitter.
Yeah.
He is waving it. He just doesn't see it. Well, Mark Leiter Jr., we waived him, and he completely cleared waivers. Nobody claimed him, and we re-signed him. And even before all that happened, I was saying back in November that I think Mark Leiter Jr. has the stuff to be a closer. And then we waive him, and nobody claims him, so we resign him. He may be the most wicked left-handed reliever in baseball, and he throws right-handed. It is just phenomenal, the job he does coming out of the bullpen, and that splitter has just revived his career. I think it was the 7th or 8th inning, Suzuki lost the ball in the sun for a double. Mancini struck again at first base by booting a ball. So even though we won 3-2, we should have won 3-1. Basically, we played the game. We beat them more handily than a 3-2. So we won 2-3 in Los Angeles, and then we go to Oakland.
Can I say something quick? Bellinger, it was great to see him hit that home run. I saw the highlights of that.
Oh, he crushed it.
He crushed it. The Dodger fans still respect him and thank him for his years. It's just a nice moment that happened. And then Wisdom is, I think, tied for the lead in the National League in home runs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So Monday, we beat Oakland 10-1. Suzuki goes 3 for 5. Bellinger goes 5 for 5. Wisdom hits 2 home runs. So this is game 4 of this West Coast swing. He has 5 home runs in the 4 games. Wisniewski pitches 7 innings, 1 run. I could go through, the good things everybody did, but we won 10-2, so everybody did great. So Tuesday, we win again 4-0, and Suzuki goes 2 for 2 with 3 walks. Stroman 6 innings pitched with no runs. Stroman in 4 outings this year is 3-0 with a 0.75 ERA. So he is just looking wonderful. He has an opt-out after this year, and the rumors are that we are trying to extend him give him a few more years, buy out that opt-out, keep him around. For a guy who throws in the low 90s, just a great pitcher, and he's a great human being, and he's a great teammate. After Leiter Jr. struck out Freeman, out of the dugout to meet Leiter Jr., Stroman just comes onto the field clapping and everything, just a wonderful person to have on your team. Today we won 12-2, and we were going to face a pitcher who had an ERA of about, 8 or 10 or something like that. And then I was listening to Power Alley on MLB. Whatever. And they were interviewing the manager of the A's, Mark Kotsay, and he said that they're going to be pitching Mason Miller, who is their top pitching prospect. This guy is phenomenal. He throws 100 with ease. He has a cutter that is nasty. He reminds me of Noah Syndergaard when Noah Syndergaard was Noah Syndergaard, when he was Thor. He doesn't have the long hair, but man, he is a big right-hander. He's a horse, and he throws hard with ease. and he was limited to about 80 pitches, and he pitched an inning and a third, and we got 2 runs off of him. But yeah, I was very impressed. Command, poise, everything. Too bad he's in Oakland.
Right.
Anyway, today Horner went 3 for 5. Hap, Hosmer, and Madrigal all had 2 hits. Like I said earlier, Hosmer did go deep for his first home run. Wisdom hit a triple in this game and drove in 2 runs. And Steele had 6 innings pitched, 1 run. Steele is 3-0 with a 1.44 ERA. And for a
Yeah.
guy whose fastball is in the low 90s, and he also has the cutter. That's basically all he throws, but he's so difficult to pick up. And this isn't a fluke. He had a tremendous second half last year, and he's just carrying that through. So we went 5-1 on the road, going to the West Coast.
Outstanding.
Our record now is 11-6,
Oh,
and you're telling JJ, we could easily be 13 or 14 wins and just a few losses. We could have been 6-0 on this trip, but hey, 5-1, I'll take,
that's
especially when we
great.
started off with the Dodgers. So I think after watching this team for 17 games now, I I'm ready to call this is a good team. It's it's not a great team, but it's a very good team. And unless injuries happen, we're not going away. We have so many different weapons, pitching, starting pitching, relief pitching. We have offense. We're scoring a lot of runs. We have disciplined hitters. I think that we're going to hang around. So, and I temper that optimism because I am a Cub fan, and we always just wait for the shoe to drop. But so I think after the first tenth of the season, I'm say we are a really good team. Oakland is what I would call a bad team. I'm not using hyperbole here. This series was the most lopsided series I think I have seen in my life. I did not see the 62 Mets, but I am watching the 23 Oakland A's. We outscored them 26-3. And besides the starting pitcher on Tuesday, who was decent, and the starting pitcher today, who I think has a tremendous future, there was nothing on this team to like. They don't catch the ball. They don't throw the ball well. They make terrible mental mistakes. And I know they're very young and inexperienced, and a lot of these players wouldn't even be in AAA on some teams. But this is just not a very good team. And I'll finish with this. Wisdom is tied with Pete Alonso for the league lead in home runs with 8. Horner is tied with Cedric Mullins with the most stolen bases in Major League Baseball with 9. Horner wasn't stealing bases last year. This year, we have a lot of traffic on the base, and we have a lot of people stealing bases. So we've made a concerted effort to be a little more aggressive than we have been in the years past, and it's paying off at this time. So I'm very giddy about this week, very happy about this week. And it's not just because we went 5-1, it's because we went into Los Angeles, and I think we proved right now we are a better team than the Dodgers. When we can match up our number 4 starter with their number 1, and Smiley can outpitch him, that's a sign of a good team. Yeah. Stroman, Steele, yeah, okay, that's who you want to compete against Urias. When you're down to your 4th starter because of the way it matches up, you think, okay, I mean, I've conceded that, the Dodgers are going to win this game. Didn't. So very, very happy with the team. So
Vince, who would you say has been the biggest surprise for you on that Cub team? Was there a guy that's just exceeding your expectations? I just was wondering, is there somebody to watch that maybe I haven't noticed before?
I Wisdom has played all-star caliber. He's not Arenado, but he's a very good defensive third baseman. And he was 2 years ago. And like I said, last year, for some reason, he was just a butcher. And this year, he's played a very solid third base. And Wisdom was an all or nothing hitter the first 2 years with the Cubs. It was swing for the fence. He hit like 210 last year. He was, Dave Kingman in his approach to hitting. This year, he is trying to cut down on his strikeouts. He's hitting a lot better with 2 strikes. The triple he hit today was opposite field. He hit a double yesterday. It's not just that he's hitting these home runs, he is hitting the ball hard. And I heard a stat, I think it was in yesterday's game, they were saying that in the last 2 years, Wisdom, I think Pete Alonso and someone else, I can't remember who else, and it wasn't Judge. It's kind of amazing to me. May have been Trout. There's only 2 players that have more home runs, have a better home run per at bat than Wisdom. And this year, I think the first 2 years he thought, okay, I can hit home runs in this league. And this year he's kind of, okay, it's time for me to take my game up. So he has surprised me. Dansby Swanson has really surprised me. He is a positive force in this clubhouse. And it's not like one player is really surprising me. They're all just playing up to their ceiling or close to their ceiling.
Fantastic.
But the thing this team just feels very cohesive. And I hope they continue with that.
Outstanding. There was a few notes about in our division, if you don't mind. We talked about our love, how much we admire Craig Counsell. Well, this week I think he had his 1,100th and something game, and he passed Phil Gardner as the all-time Brewer coach, the most games coached by a manager for the Milwaukee Brewers. So that's great, Craig Counsell. I also saw that the Reds signed their young phenom pitcher Green to an extension. We're seeing that more these days, where a team like the Reds, who usually have trouble hanging on to their players, are signing them and getting rid of some of those arbitration years and their young years and sign them for some extra years. And I think that's great, because I'd like to see a player that comes up stay with that team as long as possible. And I also heard that Corbin Burns had to leave the game a little with a little discomfort. Now, I don't wish that on anyone, but we're both chasing Milwaukee, and we'll take any help we can get. So anyway, that's a few, especially as Cardinals right now. I'm telling you, it's been rough. I'm seeing stolen bases and these rules. I'm enjoying them. I'm getting used to them. And I saw the Cardinals do 2 sack bunts this week, which I don't remember us sacrificing bunting hardly at all. So I'm liking these new rules.
Yeah, I'm telling people it's baseball like whenever I was growing up. It was baseball like until the 90s, and then it just, with all the shifting, everything got weird. And then, with all the pitching specialization and everything, games were dragging on. We had someone throw a complete game in less than 2 hours. I can't remember.
Wow.
But yeah, even like a slugfest like today, the Cubs won 12-2. It wasn't a 3-hour game. The game just keeps moving. So
nice and smooth. When we've had bad innings, the Cardinal pitchers have had like one bad inning particularly, and like the other night with Montgomery, where they were hitting balls that were dropping in front of the plate. The pitcher can't walk around the mound and rub the ball up and delay the game and kind of reset himself. He's got to get back out there in 15 seconds to throw another pitch. So sometimes it's a little rough, getting when it's going bad, it's kind of tough to take a break unless the catcher comes out and talks to you or something.
Yeah. Well, we always look for fun things to do. The last segment of the show, well, I guess baseball cards is always the last segment. That's always fun. But we decided we were going to do 5 players from each team that were like one-hit wonders or one-season wonders, in music, one-hit wonder, the Net came out with My Sharona, and then they were selling Wheaties out of the back of a truck for the rest of their life or something like that. We kind of decided we were going to focus on 5 players who just had one season where they were very impactful and then kind of faded into mediocrity or obscurity. So JJ, you've had a rough week. Why don't you go first?
Oh, all right. It's been a rough week. I kind of wanted to mix it up with more current players and some old timers. And Vince, what I like about this is we get to talk about players that maybe people didn't even know existed. We have a lot of little leaguers that listen, and a lot of them don't know anything past Yachty and Pujols with us. And, you know, they heard of Ozzy and Sandberg, but they don't know all the particulars about them. So it's just great to talk about these old players. And the first player, you want to go back and forth? I'll talk first on the first
Yeah,
one.
let's go back and forth.
I've got a pitcher, and you're going to remember this pitcher, and you're going to remember why. Kent Bottenfield.
I knew you would have Kent on there.
Yeah, Kent's on there, all right. Kent was actually in 1997 on December 20th, the Cubs granted him free agency. All right. So in the early winter of 1998, that following in the same winter, the Cardinals signed him. That year, so 98, and he plays 98 and 99 for the Cardinals. In 98, he did all right. He was mainly a bullpen pitcher with a few spot starts. But 1999, we needed an extra starter. He looked good in spring. He comes out in 1999 and goes 18-7. 18-7, and he had an ERA of 3.97. He pitched 190 innings with 124 strikeouts and 89 walks. Now, the rest of his career, he only goes 28-42 with a 4.54 ERA. So the Cardinals, I have a friend that always says, buy low and sell high. And that's exactly what the Cardinals did.
That's what they did.
That's what they did. So in
baseball.
Yeah, Jimmy Baseball. In 2000, that winter, we trade him and a young, promising second baseman in our AAA team, Adam Kennedy, to the California Angels, and we got Jim Edmonds. And all of you that remember Jim Edmonds, I don't know why he was available. He's made one of the greatest catches I ever seen in Kansas City, where he was running with his back to the wall and the ball was turning and he looked over the wrong shoulder and he just dove out and caught the ball in the webbing of his glove. And I always thought, my gosh, who is this guy? Well, we got Jimmy Edmonds. And that's the weird thing about baseball. Sometimes players just fall in your lap. Maybe they were just tired of him. I don't know, but we got him. And Jimmy Edmonds, and I like following this trade because we had Jimmy Edmonds from 2000 to 2007. And then we trade him to the Padres and we get David Freese. So Kent Bottenfield has directly affected Cardinal baseball because everybody remembers David Freese, who had one of the greatest postseasons I can ever remember with some of the biggest hits. And so anyway, 1999, he's 18-7 with a 3.97 ERA and his WAR is 3.0. He's 30 years old. And the rest of his career, he never won more than 5 games in any of his previous years. Before leaving the Cardinals, it was let's see. Oh, when he won his 18 games, the next best pitcher on the team was Darren Oliver, a name I kind of
blast from the past.
Yeah, that's a blast from the past. I kind of forgot that name. He won 9. So he was by far our best pitcher that year. And but a closer look at his statistics, which I don't think we could get away with trading him for Jimmy Edmonds now. His whip was 1.503. That's a horrible whip. And he had 124 strikeouts and 190 innings and 89 walks. And anyway, that was it. And it was Kent Bottenfield. And I'll always remember that year. It just seems like he got enough run support and he pitched well enough. And the Cardinals were in those games. And it seems like it's just the luck of the draw. And he would get a bunch of wins that year. So that's my first one-hit wonder right there, Kent Bottenfield.
And he was an all-star that year. He made the all-star team and pitched in the game, did not do well, but whenever we just said, oh, they're gonna put Bottenfield on there. Then there's another player I got in mind that
okay. See if I name him.
My first player is Brian LaHair. LaHair being French for the rabbit. I don't know. But anyway, Brian LaHair.
You had me.
Okay. In 2012, I hate it when my notes stick together. I hate it when people know that I'm using notes and this isn't all coming off the top of my head.
You're like Dan Rather, man. You're looking at the people. Yeah.
In 2012, he came out of the gate as our first baseman, and he was just holding the place because we knew we had Rizzo coming. but we didn't expect anything. We were in a transition year, and this was the years between the Jim Hendry and the um, Theo Epstein, and we knew that we were going to be rebuilding. So we were going to rebuild with this guy Brian LaHare, who had played a lot of minor league baseball. He had had a few stints in the major leagues with the Mariners. In 2012, he came through, and in mid-June, he was hitting over 300, and he had 14 home runs. So, being we weren't that good, he was our representative in the All-Star game. Brian LaHare with his 14 home runs, and he actually got the play. I think he struck out or something in a pinch hitting role. But this was the one of the most what can I say? Um, what's the word I'm looking for? Improbable. There it is. One of the most improbable all-stars because he was looked at as a classic AAA type hitter. Not a great hitter, but some power. And if he was going to make a team, it was going to be as a bench role. And he just kind of had this path laid out for him that he was going to be most likely a career minor leaguer. But he came up, he got red hot at the beginning of the season, and he made the All-Star team. Um, After the All-Star game, he only hit 2 more home runs the rest of the year, and he found himself just by the last month of the season, he was only getting a few pinch hitting roles. He went to play in Japan the next year, and he never played another game in the major leagues. So when people talk about Brian LaHare, which nobody does but me, it was kind of a really special first part of the season. I remember I think I was in Fulton, Missouri, listening to a Cub game, um, driving to a place, and Brian LaHare comes up, and I remember thinking, because at this time he was red, I'm thinking he's going to hit a home run, and he hit a home run, and I felt like a biblical prophet or something. Brian LaHare, my first one.
Brian LaHare. Well, Vince, you might want to get out the tissue for this one because sometimes when you have one good year, things happen. I mean, sometimes you never know why a kid can throw 100 miles an hour and another kid can only throw 65 miles an hour. Sometimes just genetics, just something happened. That kid on that movie broke his arm and then he could throw 103 miles an hour. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Well, this one, a lot of people don't know this name. This is why I just want to bring this name to our attention. He was an outfielder named Austin McHenry. And he came up in 1918. I love the old players. I love delving into the history of baseball. And every year from 1918 to 1920, he played a little bit more and he was hitting in the high 200s, like a 282 hitter in there. But 1921, everything came together. He hit 350. And that's back when there was no batting helmets. They throw inside. They didn't mind if they hit you. They knock you off that plate. So you couldn't settle in that batter's box. That was a little different kind of game. So 350, 102 RBIs, and that's in a 154 game season, not 162 like today. 154. He had 102 RBIs, an OPS of 924. And Vince tells you anything over
Wow.
anything over 800 is fantastic. And he had a WAR of 5.1. 17 home runs and 10 stolen bases. He was 25 years old. He emerged as one of the best hitters in the major leagues, and he finished third in slugging with a 531. And he finished third, and Roger Hornsby of the Cardinals, his teammate, was the top guy that year, and he just came on like gangbusters. And we were just 5 years away from our first world championship, and we were starting to build a good team. But then the next year came up, and he started having some inconsistencies at the plate, and he was having trouble seeing the ball. And he only played 64 games, and it was starting to have some problems with his vision. And it turned out, Vince, he had a brain tumor. And I'm sorry to bring this down, but this guy, can you hit the Incredible Hulk music? Da, 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 da. I had a brain tumor.
Well, you could have said he had syphilis. That would have been even sadder. So All right, he had a brain tumor.
He had a brain tumor. In 1922, he passes away.
Wow.
So, I'm sorry to bring this to a screeching halt, but this guy, Austin McHenry, one great year. I know as a kid, I thought, man, if I could just get to the majors and, hit a home run. Oh, man, wouldn't that be great or something like that? And this guy got to live he worked his whole, as a kid growing up. He played 4 years in the majors. Well, part of 5. And then, and that's just how it is sometimes. Somebody gets hurt. I think of Dave Trebecki, a lot of players like that, where their time is cut short. But for that 1 year, 1921, this guy was unstoppable and a great baseball player. So that guy was an outfielder by the name of Austin McHenry.
I'd never heard of him. That's an
I,
awesome
had,
story.
I hadn't either until I did some research.
Hmm. Well, my next player is Rick Wilkins. In the 80s, we had really good catching. We had Jody Davis, an all-star, and then after Jody Davis, we had a guy named Damon Berryhill, which was a
That's
decent
good.
catcher. And but Rick Wilkins, he was going to be a stud because in 1993, behind the plate, he smashed 30 home runs. That was just 3 behind our team leader, Sammy Sosa. And listen to this. He batted 303. He had a on-base percentage of 376. He had an OPS of 937 for a catcher.
Whoa.
So that was third in the National League behind Bonds and Andres Galarraga, who was playing in Denver at that time. And I'm thinking, wow, we've got the best offensive catcher in the National League. Right? And I was really excited. He went on to hit 28 home runs over the next 4 years. I don't know what happened to him. He just had one magical year where he was lights out, and then he was so pedestrian the rest of his time. He ended up playing for 7 other teams before leaving as a journeyman in 2001, retiring. But for one season, I really thought we had the catcher of the future in Major League Baseball in Rick Wilkins. Just an offensive machine, and then it just fell apart that quick. That can happen with catchers. They can have 1 or 2 really good seasons, and just because of the physical beating you take back there, offense is usually the first thing to suffer. And Rick Wilkins just fell off the face of the earth offensively and just ended up petering out in his career. But Rick Wilkins, number 2.
Rick Wilkins. See, I never heard that
But
name
he didn't
before.
die of a brain tumor, so we're happy.
Yeah, I promise this player did not die of a brain tumor that I know of. All right, the next player is a pitcher, and his name's Dick Hughes. And I have a baseball card of him, 1967. He was on that World Championship team, and he kind of looked like a mild-mannered guy. He kind of looked like Bunny Carlos, the drummer of Cheap Trick, but a thinner version of Bunny Carlos. He had those glasses like Bunny wore, and in 1967, Vince, he goes 16-6 with a 2.67 ERA and a 3.9 WAR. He threw 222 innings, 48 walks, and 161 strikeouts. What a year! He was our winningest pitcher on our team, and he was a 29-year-old rookie. And I applaud a guy. He's down there in the minors working his way up. By the time a lot of players get to 24, 25, they kind of say, all right, I guess it wasn't meant to be. But this guy hung on, and he got a season of fame right there. And I'm saying it's 1967, and we had Bob Gibson on the team. He had more wins than Bob Gibson. Yes, Bob Gibson broke his leg in July of that year with a line drive off his leg and had to be carried off the field. So he missed 10 starts. And so Dick Hughes just picked up the slack and did a great job. Dick Hughes that year finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting to someone you may have heard of, Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver was the Rookie of the Year that year, and Dick Hughes was number 2. Of course, everybody knows Tom Seaver goes on to have one of the greatest pitching careers ever, and Dick Hughes, this is pretty much it for him. 1 year later, he tore his rotator cuff. And Hughes went 2-2 with a 3.53 ERA that year. and he never pitched in the big leagues again. But he did pitch 2 World Series games in 67, which was the year the Cardinals beat the Red Sox. And we pretty much jumped on the back of Bob Gibson, who carried us through. But Bob broke his leg and only missed 10 starts. That's incredible. But Dick Hughes in the World Series, he started 2 games. He only threw 9 innings, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. And Bob Gibson in 67 during the regular year, like I said, Dick Hughes went 16-6. Well, missing 10 starts, Bob Gibson still went 13-7. So anyway, Dick Hughes, a big reason the Cardinals went on and to the World Series that year, and a player I think a lot of Cardinal fans should know about.
Okay. My third player was the 1989 Rookie of the Year, and he was the spark plug of our Cub team that won the National League East. And his name is Jerome Walton. He boasted a midseason 30-game hitting streak. He was a center fielder and he had speed. And he was our leadoff hitter. And we went to the playoffs. And so naturally you think, okay, well, this is going to be our leadoff hitter for the next few years. He was, but he was never very good after that. He played 3 more years for the Cubs, and he had a very modest remaining 3 years with the Cubs, and then they just let him go, and he kind of became a utility player. He had a pretty long career. Played with the Angels, the Braves, the Reds, the Rays, the Orioles. He just kind of bounced around, usually that 4th or 5th outfielder. But the way he entered, we thought, hey, we've got someone great here. And it just goes to show you, much like Dick Hughes won second in Rookie of the Year, sometimes you'll have a Rookie of the Year, and they really don't do much. I remember John Castillo won Rookie of the Year one year for the Minnesota Twins, and then I never heard of him again. It just happens that way. So Jerome Walton, he's my third player of these players who just had one special season.
I remember Pat Listash from the Brewers was Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh, this guy, he could bunt, he could steal bases, and never heard from him again. In 87, I was in the Navy, and I didn't get to see a single game that year. I was out at sea pretty much 10 months. And
Slacker.
I had a great tan. I did have a good tan, but I followed the season in the newspapers, and I remember, the Cubs, I always, we'll go, just the Mets that I hate. And I remember the Cubs were doing really good, and I said, what's going on? And they had that Jerome Walton, and I was like, who's this guy? And it was April, and I said, well, he'll slow down by May. And then in May, I can't keep this up. And he was good all year long. I remember that year, I remember following him in the paper, had a great, great year.
Yeah.
Well, my number 4, this might be the other guy you were thinking of. 2008, Ryan Ludwig.
No, but
Nope.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Ryan Ludwig came up. He's a good player. In 2008, it all came together. 37 home runs. The Cardinals don't usually have, except for the steroid, except for our good friend here. We don't have a lot of big Johnny Mize in the early days and McGuire, but we don't have any big home run leaders. But Ludwig had a great year that year. 37 home runs, 113 RBIs, 104 runs scored, and an OPS of 966 and a 5.5 WAR. I like to go over some of those stats because he never matched anything like that ever before. He slugged .591, and he was only second to Albert Pujols. And that year, Albert won the MVP. But he even had a better slug than Ryan Howard, who finished second for the MVP in 2008. So what a year. But like I said, he scored 104 runs, and Ludwig never scored more than 63 runs in a season the rest of his career. Had a nice career. He bounced around, kind of a journeyman. He played here until it was like a free agent type year, and then he was gone. And he played 11 seasons in the big league, so he got his 10 years in to get his full pension and everything. But in that 08 team, Ludwig kind of got overlooked because in 08, the stars of the team were Yachty and Pujols, and we had Troy Gloss at third base, who had a decent year. Rick Ankiel, who might be the other person you're thinking of.
Nope.
Chris Duncan and Skip Schumacher, who is now the manager of the Marlins. So anyway, that's my fourth one, Ryan Ludwig. And I think that's a good guy. You should go back and look because that 1 year, man, he really put it on and had a great one.
Yeah, I had forgotten that he did have that one great year. My fourth player is Dick Ellsworth. He was a Cub in 1963. And for those of you who know anything about the history of the Cubs, from 1961 through 64, I think they didn't have a manager. They had a college of coaches. Okay.
Really?
Tried a whole different concept.
I never knew that.
Crashed and burned. It sucked.
One
Yeah.
experiment.
So that year, though, in 63, when they did have the College of Coaches, it was a little different. The Cubs were in first place in June, and they finished about 500 for the season. So, but the biggest part of that team, as far as the pitching goes, was Dick Ellsworth, who came out of nowhere, literally. Who's Dick Ellsworth? He was 22-10. And to tell you it's not a fluke, his ERA was 2.11. So wasn't like one of these players like 1 year Bill Gullickson won 20 games with an ERA of 4. It wasn't like that. He actually pitched really good. But after that year, he never came close to that again. He was with that 1968 Red Sox team. That's where Cardinal fans may have heard from him. He was, I think, the third starter. He did have a decent season with them. He won 16 games, but he wasn't otherworldly like he was for this one season with the Cubs, where he won a lot of games and his ERA was minuscule. And he never put it back together. In fact, the Cubs just kind of got rid of him after a few years, thinking he's not going to go anywhere. And then, he lashed on with the Red Sox and had a decent bounce back season 5 years later. But Dick Ellsworth, my number 4 player to come out of nowhere and have a great season.
All right. Well, my number 5, and I'm trying to do current, and I went all the way back to the 1912, 1939, a pitcher by the name of Bob Bowman.
Yeah,
and
that
Bob,
was the guy. I was no, I was thinking of that Hazelbaker guy.
Oh, was that 1 year very great year though? He had great moments, but was it a great year?
I just remember there was 1 year, like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. Every time I turned on the highlights, what was his first name? Nathan?
I don't hardly remember him at all, but I remember that last name now.
It just seemed like every time I turned on the highlights, he was in the middle of something. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, I vaguely remembered him. I think he had great moments, but not a great year. But Bob Bowman, 1939, pre-World War II. He went 13-5, and he had a 2.60 ERA and a 4.8 WAR. He was another 28-year-old rookie. I like those guys that stick it out, going to make it to the big leagues. He appeared in 51 games. This is before the pitch count, and he may be one of the guys why they have a pitch count now. And out of those 51 games, 15 were as a starter, and he pitched 169 innings. They just bring him in all the time. He was lights out. He was the second best player on the team to Johnny Mize. Kind of doing a little history lesson there because Johnny Mize was a great Cardinal player, the big cat over at first base. He had his 2.60 ERA was second best in the National League. And I believe it was a Cincinnati Red, of all things, that had the best ERA that year. It is believed that the heavy use they used him that year took a toll on him and on his arm, and he was never the same after that 1 year. So, like I said, that year he had a 2.60 ERA, and that's 39. In 1940, his ERA went up to 4.33, and in 1941, his ERA was 5.71, and he had just 4 years in the big leagues where he went 26-17. So he won 13 games that 1 year and lost 5. So that was half of the games he won in the big leagues in 4 years in that one season. Um, also though, of course, that's before my time. There's not a lot of documentation on Bob Bowman, but in the big leagues, you can come out and be great, but then the players kind of adapt to you. They know what your tendencies. Um, they kind of know when you're going to throw something. Of course, I guess that's what a tendency is, but they get to know you and they start facing you and they kind of start figuring you out. And sometimes you have to adjust, and some players never adjust. And that's maybe why they only have that one great year. So anyway, Bob Bowman, a guy everybody should take a look at because that one year he had a really good year, 1939.
Okay. My final player is a pitcher. We got him from the Pirates, and with the Pirates, he was about the third or fourth starter, and he was nothing special, but we needed to fill a role, someone to eat innings. So we signed John Lieber, and he came to us in 2003, and he got out of the blocks really good. And on this was just 20 years ago, 19 years ago. Um, on May 24th, he one hit, I think it was the Braves, and won a shutout in 1 hour and 48 minutes. So we're kind of getting back to that time, but he had a great season. He went 20-6, got the All-Star nod, his first and only All-Star nod. Cubs were not a good team that year. This was 2002. Sorry. Um, we finished fourth place, or he finished fourth place in the National League Cy Young Award deal. This was 2001. Why am I getting my years messed up? So anyway, he finished fourth in the Cy Young, and his other years were okay, but nothing like this. He kind of bounced around a little bit. In 2008, he played for our team that went to the playoffs, pitched out of the bullpen. But he was almost a John Tudor story. John Tudor pitched for the Pirates and the Red Sox and the Pirates, and was kind of like that third, fourth starter, and then comes to the Cardinals and puts it all together. But Tudor had, a few years of sustained brilliance, but Lieber only had one. But and he even got some MVP votes that year for a team that wasn't really that good. So I had a lot of good memories of John Lieber,
I
and
remember Lieber.
yeah, had that one good year, won 20 games, and made me happy.
It's always good when we win.
I'm
Enough.
still on the 87 Dondros.
Yes, Vince, I'm throwing a change up tonight. These are Alan Ginter cards. They are a throwback. They're current players. They have a few old players in there too. There's a Babe Ruth card. But I love the look of the cards. There's a lot of them that look great, but then there's some that are like, this was a guy who was the utility, who took care of the polished the shoes for 30 years for the White Sox. They have cards for that, or a hot dog day or something. I don't like those cards, but these are really nice cards when we get a few good. I hope only 6 cards in this pack, by the way.
Well, let me go first so we can
Sure.
end on such a positive note of your cool cards. Yeah. Once again, the foil wrapper.
What year is this again?
87.
87. All right, good year.
Yes. And I have another puzzle piece from the Stan the Man deal.
We're going to put that together.
Oh, this was I believe this was the first guy to usher in the steroid era in baseball. I saw him catch with the White Sox and he was nothing. And then he goes to the Angels, and suddenly one year he is like lean and muscular, hitting home runs. Brian Downing.
Good player. Very good player.
Decent outfielder for the Expos, Mitch Webster.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you've got the Wheaties box. Look at this.
Okay.
I have got Mark McGuire.
It's McGuire Day at the ballpark, baby.
Because he's not nearly as big. Look at the size of his head.
I know. He's a freak.
Oh, former Cub and rose to fame as a Kansas City Royal. Willie Wilson, one of the fastest men I've ever seen in a baseball uniform. Former Cub, who we traded for Rick Sutcliffe, um, World Series hero, Joe Carter.
Love Joe Carter. That hit off Mitch Williams.
And this is a former guitar player for Fleetwood Mac who went on to have a solo career. Bob Welch with a Sentimental
Oh
Lady.
yeah, that's right. What was it?
Oh, wait a minute. This guy pitched for the Dodgers.
27 wins one year.
7 wins, 89
Oakland
A's.
A's. Yes.
Oh, good left-hander for the Red Sox and Padres, Bruce Hurst.
Oh, I love Bruce Hurst. Oh, man, his uniform would be filthy. Oh yeah, Bruce Hurst.
He was a gamer. As was Gary Ward, who usually was a fourth outfielder. Liked him. Oh, here's a man who has over 400 home runs, but everybody's forgotten about how great he was for a long time. Darrell Evans.
Darrell Evans, yeah. He played I think it's because he's in Detroit. He's not on the coast, you know.
Yeah. Finally, a Hall of Famer.
Is it?
Paul Molitor.
Yes, the great Paul Molitor. 5 hits in game 1 of the 82 World Series.
This is a guy who I thought was going to have a Hall of Fame career, but he kind of fizzled due to injuries. Fred Lynn, who was the the American League Rookie of the Year and MVP 1975 for the Red Sox.
Good play for the Angels too.
Yeah, he did play for the Angels. Pretty good play for the Orioles, and I think the Tigers too. Kind of bounced around there a little bit. This player once held the single season save record with 57, Bobby Thigpen.
Oh, he's never the same after that. That should be a one hit wonder right there.
Blew his arm out. Yep.
Yeah.
And I got a Diamond Kings card of Mark McGwire. He's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
This is the Mark McGwire
He's
show.
like Beetlejuice. You mentioned him, he'll show
up. Former Red, Ron Oster, had a decent career.
I like his crackers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and the man who broke the heart of my wife when she was a young 20-something because he was traded to the Cardinals for Tommy Herr, Tom Bernansky.
Tom Bernansky. Oh, yes. Big Tom. All right. Well, Alan Ginter time. This first card, I don't know who the heck this is. And I can't hit the writing. I'm going to show you the writing first. On the back, this is what the writing on the back looks like. It's too small to read. Vince, I can't. Yeah. His name's Landon Donovan, and he's the assist leaders in something. I don't know. I think he played soccer and baseball or something in college. What a ripoff. Give me a Brandon Donovan card. What a ripoff. But now the pack has redeemed itself. The pack taketh and giveth. And look at this card. I mean, this is classy looking. Cal Ripken Jr.
Oh, cool.
Oh, is that bad to the bone? But they put the statistics in like old writing. They write everything out. I'm not a big fan of that, but the artwork on the front is fantastic. That's a classic Cal Ripken Jr. card right there.
Yeah, he had a reputation for being lazy. Just didn't want to work at his craft.
I wish I was as lazy as Cal Ripken. He showed up all the time. And you know he had to be dinged up. He just go out there and play. You know, he had big guy playing shortstop. You know, that's kind of unheard of. Well, I tell you what, I'm taking umbrage with this pack. I'm writing a hate mail to him right now because they have one of the greatest players ever, but they have him in a Chicago Cub jersey. Roger Hornsby right there with the Cubbies. Yeah. He played for the Cardinals too, everybody.
That's how he would have wanted it.
Oh, and speaking of the Cubs, they have sensational seasons. And this is 1998 National League MVP, Sammy Sosa. There he goes. I'm going to get my finger off the Cub right there. That is a beautiful looking card right there. Man, for all you card collectors, that's nice. Kind of mark the time. They also have mini cards, and I got the green rookie, the Reds pitcher green, the rookie card, and it's a miniature card, which there aren't many of, and it's $40. But I just bought one of these packs and ran into it. These are the 2022 set, but here's a classic old player, Harmon Killebrew in the mini card. So I'm going to show you that card, and then the other card sizes next to it, so you can see it's a little mini card. So that's pretty cool. for the fans out there. And the last one is a Reds player I really don't know much about. Nick Lodolo. There he is. Nick Lodolo. That's a good looking picture. I like Mr. Red on the sleeve. Very nice card. And you've only get 6 cards per pack, and they cost about twice as much. So I can't recommend getting them, but if you get one of your favorite players, like your Roger Hornsby Cub card, it's worth it.
Well, good. Well, JJ, who do the Cardinals have coming up?
I wrote it down. We're going on the road and we're playing Seattle, who I'm not encouraged. That's a really good team, and San Francisco Giants. And the Giants are struggling too. Yeah. So they're kind of like us right now, but there's a lot of teams that were predicted by all these experts to be really good who have been struggling. The Philadelphia Phillies, the St. Louis Cardinals, the Padres, I think, are struggling a little bit too.
Yeah, they're under 500.
Yeah, and the Dodgers, everybody kind of knew they were good, but maybe not as good as they used to be. So, and they're struggling. So,
yeah, they're a good team, but when I watched them last week, they weren't the monsters they have been. I mean, they could get better, but I bet now they wish they had Cody Bellinger, because I mean he's hitting the ball hard, right? He's looking great. But
Atlanta's looking good. That team, their pitching, that team, I think they're just on another level. They're looking. Remember my picks? It was Toronto and Atlanta for the World Series this year, and Atlanta's looking pretty darn good right now. And the Cubs and the Brewers and the Cubs too. I'll give guys credit.
Yeah, and the Cubs, we start a 4-game series tomorrow with the Dodgers. We're done with the Dodgers. Wow.
Got them done. All right.
Yeah, and then after the Dodgers, then the Padres come into town. So that's what our week's going to look like. And then we have the Marlins. We have a series at home against the Marlins, and then I think we go to Washington, who's really bad. Then we go have our second series with the Marlins. Marlins have surprised some people. So
I think they're the kind of team that can give anybody a good fight. If you're good, you should beat them more than they beat you. But I think they're nobody's whipping boy anymore. They're gonna give everybody a good run.
Yeah. So, well, JJ, you have a great week.
Yes, sir. And, you too, sir.
I plan on having a great week, and that's the great thing about baseball. You can be the team that goes 5-1 next week, and I can be the team that goes 2-4, and you're happy and I'm depressed. So that's why I always tell people what I love about baseball is even when you're a bad team, you're going to have 60 days where you wake up feeling good. You don't get that with football. You don't get that with basketball. If you're a bad team in football, you're a bad team. You
long year.
Yeah, if you win 4 games, you only have 4 weeks the whole year. You wake up feeling good. 4 days the whole year. You know, if you're a bad team in NBA basketball, you know, you may win 25 games. You know, you're a bad team in baseball, you're still going to win 60 games. So unless you're the Oakland A's. So.
Oh, Lord.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week.